Hi, this is David, Chaparral Motorsports. When you purchased your motorsports vehicle, you probably never even gave it a second thought. But one of the most important things on that bike, or your quad, or your street bike, is the tires. If you have great tires, you're going to feel like a champ when you're riding out on the road. But if you have bad tires, they can put you down on the road. And that is the one thing that you do not want. And this doesn't matter whether you're on the road, out on the woods, or at the motocross track. You do not want to have bad tires. The best thing you can do and spend the money on for your vehicle is going to be the tires. Now, most of the people when they come in usually ask us for something that's, I need the least expensive. Well, the least expensive is not always the best that you can do for yourself or your motorcycle. Again, that has to do with your riding and your experience. The biggest factor in buying tires today is the cost. If you had all kinds of money and you could buy whatever you wanted, then the cost would not be a factor. If you were a racer like Villapoto, Carmichael, Nicky Hayden, you wouldn't have to worry about it. You just pull into the pits and have them change the tires for you after every race. But today that's not the case. And after your loan payment on the motorsport vehicle and your insurance, tires are going to probably be the biggest output expense that you're going to have. And you can afford a good tire at a great price. But here's what you need to know to get those correct tires for your motorsport vehicle. Motorcycle riders are as varied as the bikes that we ride. They're different weights, different sizes, different shapes, just like the rest of us. And everything depends on your type of riding style and what you do with the vehicle. There are hard terrain tires, soft terrain tires for your MX guys. There's paddle tires, there's knobby tires for your ATVs. And for your sport bike guys, we got your canyon racers and we've got your guys that sport tour. So those are the ones that are looking for long distance tires. Your canyon racers are looking for sticky tires, things to make their bike handle. We can get you something in all types of price ranges to fit everything that you need. The purchase price of your tires need not be confusing. First, we'll start off with your riding habits and then a budget. And that's what we're here for, is to help you out to figure out what type of tire is going to best suit your needs. And everybody always has buddies that are riders, so you know you can ask them. They always have opinions on the type of tires that they like, and they can help you out too. The first thing we're going to need to know is how to read your tire size. On the side of your tire, you're going to have a set of numbers that's going to explain what your tire is, what it does, and how it's going to work for you. For example, on a Kawasaki Concourse, the tire size is a 190/50/17. The 190 is the width of the tire and how much lays on the ground. The 50 is the sidewall. If you measure the sidewall against the width, it's 50% as wide. If you could take that sidewall and lay it on the tread, it would only cover 50% of it. The 17 is actually the rim size of the wheel, so it's a 17-inch wheel. You're also going to find other number designations on the side of your tire that's going to say like 69H or 73W. What those offer to you is your weight load rating on the tire and your speed rating on the tire. Every tire made has these on there, so you never exceed the load rating or the speed rating of the tire. The W, for example, means 168 miles an hour and the H is 138. The 73, I believe, is 805 pounds. So you never want to overload the bike or go faster than what that tire is able to handle. When replacing your tires on your bike, it's best to stick with the original sizes that came on the vehicle. The manufacturers themselves have spent way more money than we could ever do on designing these tires and the bike around the tire, so it's going to handle the best and work the best for you. A lot of cruiser guys want to go to a wider tire in the back to give it that lower look or a little lower profile. And sometimes that can be done, but it depends on the width of your swing arm and whether the tire is going to fit. And a lot of times it'll fit when you put it on there, but then when you actually start riding the vehicle, a tire will actually grow in size, and when you go around a corner it actually flexes a little bit more, so it may clear the swing arm when you have it on there sitting still, but then it rubs like crazy once you get it on there, so it's better not to do it, to stay with your original tire. Also, when you go with a wider tire on a sport bike or a cruiser, you're changing its steering capabilities. What happens is a wider tire makes it harder to turn the vehicle. You have to lean it, you have to push it harder to make it go into a corner. When you put a narrower tire or the original tire that was on the bike back on there, your turns are going to be quicker, more nimble, and the bike's going to handle way better for you. Your style of bike and your riding habits are pretty much going to dictate the type of tire that you're going to need. We have bias belted tires and radial tires. Also, the tread pattern of the tires is going to make a difference on what you're going to need. Radial tires cost a little bit more than bias tires, but they also wear longer and handle much better. The difference between a radial and a bias is that on a radial tire, when the construction process is put together, the belts of the tire are laid from side to side. On a bias, they're crisscrossed like this at a 60-degree angle. The bias tires have a little more flexibility, but the radials are going to be stiffer for handling into the corners and stuff. So when you're in the quick corners, they're not going to flex on you, and that's the last thing you want it to do when you lean over into a corner. Your bias belted tires is more for your cruiser bikes because they have a much softer feel and a comfier ride for you and your passenger. Your radial tires are going to be more for your sport bike rider or your sport touring riders. They are going to give you the stiffness for the cornering and stability that you're going to need. If you're a performance-oriented rider, you may want to go with a dual compound sport tire. What that is they have a much harder compound in the center of the tire and a softer compound on the sides. So when you're going into the corners, you're not riding on that hard rubber, you're riding onto the soft rubber, such as a Michelin Pilot tire, to give you that handling and the longevity of the tire for wear and stability on the road when you're just riding on the freeways. If the particular tire that you're looking to buy is offered to you in a single or a dual compound, you want to look at a couple of things. If you're using the bike for riding back and forth to work or touring, you want to get a harder compound so that you get the mileage and the longevity out of the tire. If you're a sport rider, then you want to go with the dual compound so you have that softness on the edges. But you got to remember, the softer the rubber, the less mileage you're going to get out of the tire. It's going to wear way quicker for you. Street bike tread patterns can be a really great mystery to most people, but that's why we're here to help you. We can help you to decide what type of tread pattern is going to best suit your needs. If you're riding in just dry weather during the summer or all year round in the wet. Something that has a much deeper, wider groove is going to help channel the water out quicker away from you, which is the last thing you want to do is hydroplane on your bike. Whereas in the summertime, the sport bike riders, a lot of the times the tires have very little grooves into them because the more tire you have on the ground, the better the traction, the better the handling in the corners you're going to have. But in the rain, definitely something you want to stay away from. Off-road riders have the same questions as the street bike riders, whether you ride off-road, enduro, or motocross. First thing you know is you need to learn how to read your tire. They have the aspect ratios the same as the street bikes do. They have 110, 90, 19. We're going to use this as an example. The 110 being the width of the tire, the 90 being the height, and the 19 being the rim size. Again, it's not that hard, and we're here to help you out with it. There's been a controversy between the dirt bike riders lately on whether they want to go with a bigger tire. A lot of them on the back run 110s. Some of them been moving up bigger to the 120s. The 120s put more tread on the ground, give you a flatter patch, great acceleration, but in the corners they don't lean over, they don't steer as quick. So the guys that prefer the 110s instead, stay with them because their steering is much quicker, much faster with the 110s. It's all a personal issue, but they'll work on the bike. Again, we have to go through the fitment thing with the swing arm, the chain guards, make sure everything fits, that you have plenty of travel and nothing's going to hit. But again, it's a personal choice. Sometimes you have to try it to see how it's going to work for you. Again, with you off-road racers, you're going to want to know what type of tire to ride. And your off-road tires, they make soft, intermediate, and hard compound tires and a combination thereof. You're going to want to make sure you get the right one for your riding needs, or you're going to be on the ground just like the street bike guys. If you're riding in hard, rocky dirt, you want to get what they call a hard compound tire. Now when they say a hard compound, that doesn't mean the tire itself is really hard. Actually the tire is soft, so it gives, so it's not slipping, it's grabbing, giving you the traction so you don't fall down. If you get a soft tire, if you're riding in sand or mud, then the tire is very hard. It doesn't flex. It doesn't allow you to slip. Again, it will throw you down if you don't get the right tire for the right terrain that you're riding in. Different tracks require different types of tires. If you go to one track, it may have hard dirt. If it's other one, it's sandy. You're going to need a hard or soft compound tire depending on where you're riding. So the choices can be hard sometimes depending on what you need. On the intermediate compound tires, they use the same hardness of the rubber as the hard ones do, but the difference is in the knobbies on the tire. They're shorter and closer together to give you better traction. On the intermediate soft ones, then they start widening back up again. There are dual compounds where you have soft intermediate, intermediate hard. Again, that's why we're here at Chaparral, to help you make those choices in your riding experience. For you dual sport riders, there's a lot of options for you. The first thing you want to look for is the DOT insignia on the side of the tire, which stands for Department of Transportation. That means that these tires are legally licensed to be used on the street and the dirt. And you have many options depending on your riding habits. There's 50-50 tires, which means they're 50% designed for the dirt, 50% for street, or 70-30, which means they're 70% for the street, 30% for off-road, or vice versa. They could be 30-70, 30% for street, 70% for off-road. So again, at Chaparral, that's what we're here to help you with, to make those decisions and help you out. One of the biggest things that we see here at Chaparral in the tire department is when people bring in their tires to replace them, they seem to have extreme wear patterns on the tires. And it seems that most of the time we find that the biggest problem that they wore out the tire prematurely is improper tire inflation. Tire inflation can be a life or death matter on our motorcycles with us. We only have 2 wheels, not 4 like a car, to keep us supported. So it's very important that you keep the tire inflation where it's supposed to be according to the manufacturer. Never check your tire pressure when it's hot, because as you ride the vehicle and the tire gets hot, the air expands and it causes the pressure to go up. So if you check your tire when you've been riding for a while, it's going to show that it's overinflated. You'll let the air out, and when it cools down, you'll actually be running it underinflated, which causes that tire to wear out way premature. So always check your tire pressure when the tires are cold, and make sure you keep it at the recommended pressure by the manufacturer. Your tires will give you a lot longer life and a lot better performance for you.
Check out our Chaparral Motorsports YouTube channel.